I don't know if it was like, hey, Tim, this is Woody. And then I just like lost where I was kind of thing in my mind. I'm like, and the thing that sucks about voicemails is there's no coming back from that.
Mm-mm.
It just keeps recording. You can't, well, I guess see, sometimes it bites you. You can sometimes like press pound to re-record or whatever.
Right.
And so I've waited it out before to do that.
And it doesn't do it.
And then it just was like, boop, that's
Yeah,
it. And you're
yeah.
like, oh my God. So that's kind of what happened here, except for I was like, well, I'm not going to wait it out. I'm just going to kind of try to save this. And needless to say, I didn't. The voicemail just got worse. And it was just embarrassing. The good news is the guy ended up calling me back and he was like, I didn't even listen to the voicemail.
Good.
But anyways, that happened to me again today, which is awesome.
Man, is this too late to record? I mean, were you in bed already?
It's pretty late.
Is the mic on? Hey kids, welcome back to That Would Be Rad, your favorite podcast that majors in 80s and 90s nostalgia, comic culture, all things paranormal, and minors in retro video games, tabletop RPGs, pre-internet mysteries, and raising our kids to be half as cool as we were back in the 80s. I'm your host, Tyler Bentz, and this is your other host,
Woody Brown.
Hey man, what's up?
I don't know. It's just nice that there's actual sunshine outside, man. It's just been raining and raining.
Oh, I love the rain.
I mean, I love the rain too, but it's just not like it's nice to be able to go outside, make a little fire in the fire pit in the evenings, let the kids run around. You can't do that when it's raining.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I don't know the last time that I actually did go outside.
Ever.
Ever. No, in reality, I get up in the mornings, I take my daughter Amelia to school. Every other day, I come back home, pick up my other daughter Amelia, take her to daycare, and then come back home, and then that's about it.
Yeah,
those are about the only times that that I leave the house. So
boy, I mean, for people that love VHS and or drawing or reading or watching movies all the time or listening to music or writing music or doing a podcast,
yeah,
the pandemic situation really
didn't change.
Yeah, I mean. Man, you mean I don't have to drive somewhere and waste 2 hours round trip? Okay.
I kind of do think that, I mean, I work for myself. You pretty much do.
Yeah.
But I feel like for other folks, I think it, hopefully for the better, it has sort of maybe started to create like a new model. I mean, I was a graphic designer for 8 years. And for the better part of that, I mean, I would drive over 2 hours there and back to get there when I literally had the exact same iMac at my house. And it was just kind of like, this is so pointless. This is such a waste on gas in your car and even time. I mean, that's almost 2.5 hours a day driving to Atlanta and then driving back, sitting in traffic and all that stuff. Hopefully this has, set like a new standard for that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I mean, there's still like some of the stuff that I miss is like certainly like networking type stuff like face to face. And I mean, frankly, golly, man, just being able to go to a Braves game at lunch, and then just being like, hey, man, I mean, because look, here's the deal. We're already going to lunch. I got to take this guy to lunch. You can go and do what we call the businessman special on a Thursday afternoon at the Brave Stadium.
Yeah.
I mean, they got hot dogs there. Why don't we just eat lunch?
Or the pony,
outside?
whatever.
It's a beautiful, spring day out there. Let's have a hot dog. Let's talk a little business. But let's watch some Braves baseball. I'm telling you, dude, it's just, I miss it.
Well, I don't care much for sports.
Yeah, I know, but,
But if I did, that sounds delightful.
Yeah, I mean, there's just something about the Braves, though, man, that makes me feel so 90s. I'll get you in. I'll get you back.
Okay, so today, let's get to it.
Yeah, dude, what are we talking about? You strung me along. You said you got this mystery topic. I'm kind of like, I have no idea what you're gonna spring on me. So bring it on, bro.
Well, so we're gonna do things a little different today. I'm gonna ask you a series of questions.
Oh, man.
And then I think eventually it'll sort of start taking shape for you.
Dude, is this
just
going to
sit-
make me look like a moron?
No. Well, maybe. But I'm going to ask you a series of questions, and you are not allowed to look on your computer.
No, I'm not.
Whatever you do, put your phone down because I know you're.
No, I don't have my
This
phone.
podcast, you stare at your phone the whole time.
I never stare at my phone. Making it up. Falsifying information.
Okay, well, we're going to ask you a series of questions, and once it starts to take shape and the realization kind of kicks in, then we'll start sort of expanding on stuff. But here we go. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. What did Anthony Hopkins say to, God, what was her name? We're off to a horrible start.
It's the Mandela Effect.
God, how did you know?
Because why else would you be asking about Anthony Hopkins?
You know that I'm a huge Anthony Hopkins fan.
You and I both know I'm a phenomenal dancer.
Okay, well, you got me. Who's the other lady?
Jodie Foster.
Jodie Foster. What does, when she comes to visit him in prison, in the detainment cell, what does he say to her?
God, see, this is
Do not
gonna make
look.
me feel, I'm not looking.
I swear to
This is
God.
going to make me, I swear, man, on, rad honor.
Okay.
I'm not looking, but it is going to make me look like an idiot because I don't remember exactly. Something like, I don't know, man. God,
No, say it. You were onto it.
Hello, Clarice, or something like that.
Okay. What is the color chartreuse?
Not a clue.
Just guess. If somebody said, hey, that's it, should I go with this or chartreuse?
I mean, I don't know, man. Like some kind of like weird beige purple thing.
Okay.
No clue, dude. God, you see, you are making me look like a moron. It's all good. Go ahead.
How do you spell? There's a
son of a
particular
gun.
cookie called an Oreo.
Yeah.
Every now and then, well, I think now you can buy it all the time, but it is called a what? Oreo. It has extra cream.
I don't really. Now I'm calling myself out here. I'm not a huge Oreo guy anyway.
Okay, it's called a double stuff. But can you
double
spell?
stuffed, yeah.
Can you spell that?
You mean how they spell? Do they spell stuffed like a weird way?
Well, I mean, I just need you to tell me.
I would say just the normal way. Stuffed.
Okay. What is a? I think you like these. Actually, I don't know if we've ever even had this conversation, but it's like a little a breaded snack, like a cheese snack, and they're in little squares. What are those things called?
A breaded cheese snack? Is that
Like a
Cheetos.
snack. No, they're like little squares.
Cheez-Its?
Okay.
The best thing is I know exactly where this is going, but I'm so like, and also I've said this before on the podcast. I'm a terrible judge of this because
Here we go.
I think we talked about this one time, and I think I sent it to you, and I want to say that we talked about it on the podcast where like Dorito, like even just name brand stuff over and in.
Well, that's the excuse you always say, but this is
reason why I don't know some of that stuff. But go ahead.
Okay. What was the mascot that would typically say only you can prevent forest fires?
Smokey, I think.
Smokey what?
I guess Smokey the Bear.
Okay. What is the thing? It's kind of become famous in these last few years. It's like a pressure cooker thing that cooks food really fast.
Set it and forget it.
It's like a
I feel like
a
such an
pot
idiot.
that you put stuff in.
Crock pot.
No, it's kind of like that, but it's like a name
Dutch
brand.
oven.
It's like no, it's like similar to this, but it's a
Mama's
blank
bucket.
No, blank pot.
I don't know. Quick pot. I don't know. Never heard of it. Dude, I'm telling you, dude, this is going south quick, I bet, for you. But
what do you know about the Lindbergh baby? Whatever happened to that kid?
the baby got kidnapped or something, right?
Yep.
You're
Whatever
asking
happened
me
to that?
if the baby ever got returned or just never came back.
Yep. What happened to him?
They paid the ransom, got the baby back.
Okay. What is the famous vampire movie with Tom Cruise
Yeah.
and Brad Pitt called? Also a famous Anne Rice.
Yeah, novel. Interview. Oh, man, I don't have it on the VHS up here.
Just quit looking. Just say it.
Interview with a vampire or something?
Say that slower.
Interview with a Vampire.
Okay. In the JFK assassination, how many people were in the car?
Boy, man, I mean, God, you know that anxiety that you got like whenever you showed up to school and they just said, oh, not even pop quiz. Everybody else knows about the damn quiz, but you're the only one that didn't. That's exactly what I feel right now.
Well,
just
gonna
in
get
case
worse.
I'm going to check my pulse here. I think, let's see, there was a driver. That's one.
Okay.
Jackie was in there. That's two.
Yep.
Kennedy was certainly there. That's three. I
Mm-hmm.
want to say there was another guy sitting up front. We'll just say four.
Okay.
I'll just go with four.
Okay. What was the most famous episode that you would remember from the show Lassie?
I remember the show. Didn't really watch it though.
I mean, if you had to think like,
Like the thing I remember the most about that show is there's the kid, there's the dog Lassie. Lassie would like, what's wrong, boy? And Lassie would like take him to go like rescue somebody on the train tracks or something.
okay.
Or somebody's like hanging off a cliff.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Okay.
I apologize for just not knowing any of these anyway.
Okay. The famous shoes in the 90s, Skechers, also probably still popular for people that don't have any style. How do you spell Skechers?
SKETCHER.
Okay.
S.
Another spelling one. How do you spell Fruit Loops?
Just like it's like Fruit Loops, one word,
Okay.
or I don't know how many words.
What do you know about visually? Explain to me some of the characteristics of the Monopoly Man.
I mean, I would just say he's got like a tux on. I think like a little mustache, white hair, kind of mustache and beard, maybe beard. I don't really know. Maybe he's got a top hat on.
Okay. That's all you remember?
Yeah.
All right. Pertaining to another spelling, Kit Kat. How would you spell Kit Kat?
Yeah. KIT. KAT.
Okay. Dash or no dash?
God, no idea.
Okay,
I would say just one word, no dash.
Okay.
I can tell that I'm just like getting them all. Even the ones that I think I know, I've gotten them all wrong that are just going to help prove your point. Just
All right, how do
because
you-
of the way you say, okay.
Another food spelling. How do you spell Oscar Mayer?
Oscar, like OSCAR. And then Meyer is MEYER.
Okay. How do you spell Febreze? You know, the
Oh, geez, yeah.
the odor
FE,
eliminator.
then maybe a dash, and then breeze.
Okay. What was the famous show with the horse-faced actress
Oh my God. Not
in the
putting that
city?
Sex. First off, hold on, man. Let's back it up. Not Connor Horseface.
I cannot stand her.
Yeah, but let's talk about where she was hot, and that is Flight of the Navigator.
I haven't seen it in a while.
Well, that's not my fault. Okay, so yeah, sex. It's now this one I don't really know. It's either sex in the city or sex and the city.
Okay, what do you
I'm
remember?
gonna go with and.
Okay. If you remember Curious George, did he have a tail or no
Hate
tail?
Curious George.
Yeah, me too, actually.
If I remember right, no tail.
Okay.
I think but I don't know if that's because he's wearing pants. I don't know. Like it's banned in my house. I don't like it. He's just a
Okay.
mischievous little son of a gun.
Looney Tunes. How do you spell tunes?
I want to say it's TOONES.
In ES, huh? Extra E in there. Tunes.
No, like tunes. Yeah, maybe like you're right.
Maybe that's like an Indonesia
Oh gosh.
situation. Moving right along. Pikachu from the Japanese
Please
animated
don't ask me to spell that, dude. I have no clue.
classic.
Pika.
Did he have what did his tail look like?
Like a lightning bolt.
Any other characteristics?
Not that I know of.
So it was a yellow tail,
Yeah.
and then
Well, there
Was it
might have
just-
been like black.
Okay.
But I think it's just yellow.
Okay. What is Tony the Tiger, the famous mascot for Frosted Flakes? What color is his nose?
Good God. Like, I'm ever going to know blue. I don't know, dude.
Okay.
That's just a snapshot in my mind. I don't remember. I mean,
what's the famous line that Morpheus says in the movie The Matrix?
when he's asking Neo if he wants to take the red pill or the blue pill. Is that what you're talking about? Because there's a lot of famous lines, bro.
Possibly, but how does he phrase it?
I mean, just give me a hint.
Da-na-na-na-na. Like that's the meter.
You're joking, right? Like I'm supposed to.
Starts with what?
Yeah, no.
Spell
But
what?
no. Like, give me just give me which one. Just go with this one or that one. And let me just.
Okay, either what if I told you, or what if I told you'ns?
That is not the real choice. That's not the real choice.
Anyway, do you remember him saying, "What if I told you"?
No.
God. Okay. That's a weird one. What is the famous line from the Kevin Costner classic Field of Dreams?
Oh, if you build it, they will come.
Okay. How do you spell whiteout?
I know this one is weird because I feel like I remember this. The way that they spell white is different, like without an H or something. So like WITE out. I don't know if it's one word or if there's a dash in there, but I know that I do remember there's like a weird spelling there.
Okay. The thinker statue. What does he look like?
He's just like a dude with his hand in his, like he's just leaning down on his fist, kind of.
Where's his fist at, though?
Like kind of on his, I guess like under his chin.
Let's go to some physical things. Where is your heart located?
Kind of like it's in your chest cavity, but just off of center.
Okay. Where are your kidneys?
Jesus, dude, if you tell me that like all of a sudden they're like, hey, good news, bro, it's in the back of your knee.
Where are your kidneys?
Kind of like lower, if you kidney punch somebody, it's kind of like you would feel it the most, I guess, if you punched them kind of like to the sides of your, like in the back.
Mm-hmm.
That's not to say that they're like located completely in the back there. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It could be like central, but
Are your, like with our eye sockets, are they hollow or filled in?
I mean, the eyes are inside them. I think there may be some,
Clearly. I mean,
Yeah,
like on
so,
a skeleton or a skull.
Yeah. I think there's like some skeletal material that sort of encapsulates the eyeball.
Okay, in the classic Disney movies, some of the home movies, some of the shows, the Sunday night shows, some of the earlier Disney Channel shows, what would happen on the intro of at the beginning of every, episode or movie or whatever?
So I only know this from movies because I didn't have the Disney Channel whenever I was growing up. But do you remember when they would do those like Sunday night?
Yep, that's what I'm talking about.
It's kind of the same thing that they do with the movies now, where you see the magical kingdom, I guess, the castle, and then Tinkerbell go right over the top.
Okay, so what did Tinkerbell do, and especially the old ones?
Yeah, just like fly over the top, right, of the building.
So that's it?
Like
She didn't do anything? She didn't have a wand or do anything with a wand?
Maybe it starts with her like real close to in frame or whatever, and then flies away from you, and then I don't know. I don't remember a wand.
Okay, you got that one wrong.
Apparently, I'm from the other
dimension.
dimension.
No, you're not. Okay, Baron's. I mean, this is
yeah.
if people know about this, yeah. So, but I want you to be honest.
I've heard it so many. Yeah, no, but I've heard it so many times. I don't remember which one's the one now. I thought it was Berenstain Bears.
Okay. Well, how do you spell it though? More importantly,
Is it Berenstain or Berenstein? I can't remember.
I can't.
Berenstain, I would think.
Okay. Well, how do you spell that?
It's somebody's last name or something, so it's kind of weird. But Baron and then Stain. I don't know, dude. Something weird.
Okay. Is Mona Lisa slightly like smirking or no?
Boy, that's
Like,
debate.
Does she have like a hint of a smile, or is she just completely dead faced?
I feel like you really have to kind of, if there is any kind of a smirk or something, it's so slight that you really have to just like be staring at it for hours and be like, oh yeah, maybe she does have a smile. But other than that, it's just like relatively bland with a little bit of a trickery. Though I remember in art history learning a little bit about this, but at the same time, I don't remember.
In Fruit of the Loom, the type of undergarments that you wear.
Yeah, grapes.
What is the icon or the logo?
Yeah, I thought it was like a bunch like fruit, like grapes, maybe like a strawberry in there.
Is that it? Just fruit?
Yeah, I think so.
So no cornucopia?
Man, it's weird that you said that. Like I feel like there's potentially a cornucopia.
Okay. What's the famous line in the movie Jaws?
25 go into the water.
No.
Okay.
It's whenever he reaches down and he has the look of like, huh, and his eyes widen, and he comes back in and he says,
oh, we're going to need a bigger boat.
okay. How do you spell Flintstones? The classic movie.
Movie or TV show cartoon?
I mean, well, movie and show, sorry.
I would say Flint and then STONES.
What's the famous line from, and again, I know some of these are more obvious since you and I have talked about this, but what is the famous line from Forrest Gump?
Life is like a box of chocolates.
Okay.
Okay.
What's the famous line that the witch says while looking into the mirror on Snow White?
Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all?
Okay. What is the famous line from Star Wars that Darth Vader says to Luke?
Yeah.
Empire Strikes
Back. He told me you killed him. And then he says, no, I am your father, or something like that.
Okay. What does Gandalf say?
Thou shalt not pass.
No, not that one, but the other famous one where he's like falling.
Run,
and he
you
says,
fools.
Okay. What is the classic line said
Hold on just a second. Can we just talk about that scene for a second?
Yeah, it's weird.
Man, dude, it's intense, bro.
Yeah.
Especially if you're just viewing it for the first time, you don't know what's going to happen next, and I'm not going to spoil anything.
Yeah.
Man, that's tough. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
How many states are in the United States?
50, but you've got some territories and stuff that just it starts getting a little wonky, and frankly, I don't. They can't vote, and then there's not, but they're still included.
Good enough. What is the famous line at the end of the Queen song? We are the champions
of the world.
Okay. What is the beginning line to the most famous of all Mr. Rogers songs? The theme song, actually.
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood.
Okay. What is the original Grinch book and movie? What is the title of that?
The Grinch Who Stole Christmas.
Okay. C-3PO. Give me his characteristics.
Yeah, no. It's an unfair question because
I know you already know.
We've kind of talked about this. The first time you ever asked me that question, my answer was, he's a golden droid.
Yep.
And then as we... okay.
We'll get into it. When did Neil Armstrong die?
I thought he was still with us.
Okay. That's all I need to know. The Tiananmen Square guy facing the tank man.
Never heard of it. Next one.
Yeah, you have. When he's like standing there, the footage, and there's like a tank coming, and he stands in front of it. So to stop the tank, whatever happened to that guy? Like what did the tank do?
Shot him out of the universe. I have no idea. I really don't know that.
Did he survive or did he get ran over? You know what I'm talking about? The super famous imagery. It's like on the cover of like Life and Times and stuff.
No.
Time magazine.
The only thing I thought that you were talking about at first was the monk who lit himself on fire. Famously they used it for the Rage Against the Machine cover.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I don't know, dude. Sorry.
Okay. What was the movie that, well, I don't know how to ask this because this is one we've talked about too. Do you remember a movie where Sinbad played a genie in the 80s or 90s?
I remember the way that I answered it the first time when you asked me that, and I said, yes.
Okay. Same. Mm-hmm. Okay.
But I don't remember what it was like allegedly called. I don't remember that. I just feel like...
It was called Shazam.
Okay, I thought that was Shaq.
Well, no, Shaq was in Kazam.
Aha.
The famous preacher to the masses, Billy Graham, has he died? And if so, when did he die?
I don't know when, but I feel like yes, he has.
Do you give me a roundabout?
Like
80s, 90s, 2000s?
Mid 2000s, or like 2010s ish, 2012.
Okay, 2012. Okay. What was the famous line that Desi Arnaz would say in I Love Lucy?
Lucy, I'm home.
Not that one, but Lucy, you have some
Explaining to do.
Okay. Cruella DeVille. How would you spell that name? Not Cruella, just DeVille. Would you say it's spelled just like
D lowercase e.
Yep.
VIL. Capital VIL.
So just like devil?
Oh, yeah. Sure.
Risky Business. What is the classic, iconic scene where he comes down the stairs? What is he wearing when he's dancing and singing?
I want to say he's got nothing on but an Oxford and some underoos.
Mm-hmm. Anything else? Glasses? Wayfarers or no Wayfarers?
Man,
and what color shirt?
I feel like it's like a blue Oxford.
Okay.
It could be white. I don't remember if there's Wayfarers. I want to say no.
Okay. Sally Fields had a famous acceptance speech.
You love me. You really love me.
Okay. The villain in Gremlins, the main bad guy, what's his name?
Stripe.
Okay.
That sucks if I got it wrong because I just watched that movie.
I was about to say, this one you should be getting right. Ed McMahon, what is he known for? What do you know him from?
I know this one too. The first time you asked me this question, I said Publishers Clearinghouse.
Yep. Just like every single member of my family that I've asked.
Yeah.
Okay, folks, if you're wondering what we've been doing and why I've been rambling on for the last 20 minutes.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
You have one new message.
Hey, this is Aaron from California, and when I'm not busy spending way too much money on VHS horror movies, I'm listening to my new favorite podcast, That Would Be Rad.
America's future can be determined by our dreams and our visions.
It was very intense, bright light.
For over 200 years, there have been reports of giant man-like creatures.
From another dimension, another world, I don't know.
The most intriguing mystery on the North American continent.
You're listening to That Would Be Rad.
We are this was a little quiz over a phenomenon called the Mandela Effect. Back in 2008, I believe, by a woman by the name of Fiona Broome was at a convention here in our own state called DragonCon. And I guess the topic came up where she was talking to a security guard or something. And both of them were talking about Nelson Mandela, which I didn't even ask you this. When did Nelson Mandela pass away?
I feel like not too long ago. Like a couple years, within the couple years, something like that.
Okay. Well, so those two people had said they remember him dying in prison back in the 80s. And they were kind of in a green room, I think, backstage, because she had written a book about like past life or something. I really can't remember. And she was the one who coined the term Mandela Effect. And so all these people in this room, it was a big green room full of all the speakers, and these are pretty smart people. I mean, some paranormal, some stuff on like physics or sort of fringy topics, but pretty intellectual folks. And she realized that half the room specifically remembered him dying in the 80s. And they all remembered him dying in the 80s in prison. The other half of the room was like, no, he died in 2013. And from that then on, it created this phenomenon called the Mandela Effect, where basically, in a way, a short, sort of succinct way of explaining it is somehow things are changing that we think we just know without a doubt. Oh, well, it's this, and this is this, and this is this, and that's it. And the skeptics out there are gonna talk about mass hallucinations and all that bullshit, which I think that's an even more insane possibility than the idea that maybe our timelines merged together with another timeline. Maybe it has something to do with like the multiverse and like a little skip in dimensions, or where slight little trivial pop culture things have changed. But honestly, Woody, you literally got about 5 right out of 65 things.
That's nuts, man. Well, first off, I never knew, and this shows, again, just how interested in it I was. I never knew that that's why they call it the Mandela Effect.
Yep, that's it. And here's the other interesting thing. The interesting thing is there was a book that came out in 1990 called Alive, 1990, Western Cape branch of the South African Council for English Education, which is not a book most people would have read. This book came out in South Africa by South Africans, and it was kind of a book of like essays, basically. So I would say maybe 1% of the population had read that, unless you were really into reading that kind of stuff. Not a lot of people would read that. And in the book, it goes in depth of him dying in prison. Oh wait, actually I take that back. This book came out in 95, I think. And it talks about him dying in prison on July 23rd, 1991.
Weird. And so he was still alive when this book...
No. I messed that up originally when I said alive. I think it was written around the time that he would have died, but then it wasn't published until like 95, I think. But basically, all that to say, in this book that was written by South Africans are literally saying the same thing that all these people all around the world realized. And then, then it kind of caught fire on the internet. And I think the biggest one for me was like the Berenstain Bears. And it sent me on into a frenzy of like looking at all this stuff. And because, so Berenstain Bears is, even though I used to say Berenstein, I never really knew what it...
Berenstein or something, right?
Well, and that's the thing. It's always been spelled Berenstein. And the reason that I remember that is because there's a famous artist called Rob Liefeld, and I used to say Steen. Like, once he came around, he was such a big inspiration to me that from then on, because the spelling was similar, his name to their name. Now, anytime you look, it's spelled literally Baron and then stain, like a stain in the carpet. Stain.
Yeah, that's weird.
Which is just crazy. Let's go down some of these. So Looney Tunes is actually spelled Looney, Tunes, like music, which that seems wrong.
Yeah.
Curious George did not have a tail. You got that right. I thought he did have a tail. Sex and the City. It's not Sex in the City. It's Sex and the City, which is weird. And here's another thing, too, about this topic. So there's some things that they call residue, where we'll get into, like, possible reasons for the Mandela Effect a little later. And actually, this may even go into a second episode. We'll have to see how far we get, because it's such a great topic, and there's so much material. But basically, whatever is changing it, however these things are changing, they're changing. But people have residue, they're finding residual sort of artifacts that maybe weren't changed, or that were forgotten to be changed, or whatever, and they're still finding them. So Sex and the City, there was a perfume that says Sex in the City that was put out in France. Now, granted, you can say, well, maybe the English, or, English to French, whatever. Febreze is not. It's spelled Febreze. So like Feb, R-E-Z-E, which if you see the logo, it looks so wrong.
Wait, Feb, R-E-Z-E.
Yeah. There's no like breeze, like two E's. It's just one E.
Man.
Yeah. Same with Oscar Mayer. Now it's Mayer, M-A-Y-E-R, which is just like John Mayer, which I kind of feel like since John Mayer was so huge, you would have heard like some sort of connection since they're spelled exactly the same, but nope. Skechers has no T in it anymore. It's just S-K-E-C-H-E-R-S. which that one looks really, the logo itself looks really bizarre too. Fruit Loops is spelled F-R-O-O-T. So like fruit, like Groot, which is weird.
Yeah.
Do you remember a famous painting of King Henry VIII? I think we've talked about this too. And if so, what was he holding?
No, man.
Okay, well, the thing is, and I totally remember this too, there was a famous portrait of King Henry, and he's like a big guy. He's got red hair, and I think it's kind of receding, and he's got like a reddish beard and hat, and he was holding like a turkey leg. And I remember it, and hundreds, thousands of other people totally remember this, but he's not holding anything now in the same painting, which is weird. You got this one right, but the Monopoly Man never had a monocle, which I was kind of torn on this one. I feel like people could be like confusing this with like the
Peanut guy.
The peanut guy, yeah. So Pikachu, I 100% remember the end of his tail being black.
And the only reason I'll qualify my answer with not even 2 years ago. Well, whenever the new movie came out, my son was kind of into it, and I think we bought like it might have been Legos, but like a Pikachu Lego thing that you could make, and I remember his tail it's just like yellow. It's just a yellow piece.
That just seems wrong, though, to me.
Yeah, I don't know.
Even
I
just
didn't
from
watch
like
it whenever it came out.
I kind of did.
Does he have like black stripe? He's got like a black stripe or something on his body, though, right?
Yeah, black stripes everywhere else. He's got like, I think his hands are.
I don't know. I couldn't tell.
Like ears, maybe, or something. It makes sense graphically why he would have like, consistency wise kind of thing.
Now, can they find any previous designs of him having like a black thing, or is it just like
No, like, and that's the thing with all these things. So, all of these things that we're talking about here, a lot of you are naturally going to go to, well, brands change, they change spellings, they change logos. That and I'm a designer who has a background in like branding and stuff. So that was my first thing. But no, these are basically as if it has always been that way. Basically, reality has made it so it's been that way all along. It's not a branding issue. It's not like a rebrand or anything like that.
And I remember when you first started telling me about this, I would like whenever you go into like a thrift store or something, you can always find the old like Berenstain Bear books or whatever.
And you and I would like
I would like dig
everywhere.
through and just be like, oh man, what if we could find like one that was spelled in the other way?
Well, now that one does have residue. There's actually several things that I've seen online. There's one where there was the front of a cassette, or the front of a VHS and a cassette too, where the VHS obviously has like the little paper sticker in the middle, and it's spelled as we remember it, STEIN. And then there's a cassette that was a white cassette, and it's printed on there, so it's not like a sticker you can just peel off. Same thing, same logo, typeface font, and it's spelled correctly. But then that was the other thing that's weird is like in the actual VHS, the box, the slip case, little cardboard the tape goes in for all you millennials out there. On the actual front of the box, it's spelled correctly. And so being a designer, I think people that aren't familiar with this thing could be like, oh, well, they just spelled it wrong. Okay, as far as branding goes and design, basically somebody would go in and they would create. It's not like you just go in and pick out like, a random, font that's going to be on your computer. This is an actual logo that somebody had to physically draw or create, And so on every single piece of merchandise, they would have what's called a brand guide where they had to use these particular files on everything. So it wasn't a matter of just going in and like, oh, they just misspelled it. No. This is like an actual file that they would literally pull in and, they would slap on everything. Whether you see a book, a tape, a cassette, everything's going to have that same either PNG or JPEG or, whatever digital file it is.
Yeah.
That's how they do it. So that was really weird. The C-3PO one really threw me for a loop when I first heard it.
Oh, yeah, me too.
And I I'm still just like in awe of that one because, you know, I used to, and the thing that's crazy is even like the toys are different now. The toys have literally have a silver, and I'm talking like, again, we're not talking about like some kind of like remake or like, you know, reissue or anything like that. We're talking about like the actual toy that I remember my babysitter having in the early 80s, and it was completely gold. There was no silver leg, nothing. And even several of the people that made the film, you know, in their old age, you know, they've been asked and said, no, he's just gold. What do you mean? Like, it was just such a bizarre sort of question, you know, and which was the same response that I had. But yeah, that one kind of blew me away.
Yeah, that one was the one, like one of the ones that blew me away. I have multiple copies of Star Wars on VHS and DVD and Blu-ray and all this kind of stuff. And I went back because I thought, okay, maybe it was some sort of like post-90s.
Right, me too.
When George Lucas like went back and like did a whole re-edit and all that kind of stuff. And I thought,
oh God, those are the worst.
Oh, absolutely. And so I went back and I mean, I've got the original VHS release of Star Wars, and I played it in there, and it's silver, man.
Silver,
it's weird.
Yeah, it's super, super weird. That is one thing that's odd, though. There is some residue with that. A guy, I found it on like a forum forever ago, but there was a guy who basically was kind of like losing his mind over this. Like, this is a guy who had it on Laserdisc, who had it on every issue, you know, every sort of release on DVD, every cassette or every VHS, like every possible, you know, release, he had it. He's like a Star Wars I mean, I feel like you and I are fanatics, but like this is like one of those dudes.
Level. Yeah,
it's like next level. Yeah, this is the guy who's going to have like the French Laserdisc, you know, the Brazilian version, you know, all that kind of stuff, and he was able to. I can't remember if it was like a specific one, but he was able to like pause it somewhere where, and basically where you see him where there's like dust kind of like kicking up around him. I can't remember where exactly it would be, but he's in the desert and like the sand's kicking up and there's, you know, it's kind of like a cloud of dust or whatever. And it's like, he like slowed it down. I think you could probably still find it on YouTube. Well, I don't know, maybe, but you can see where he's literally all gold, and then all of a sudden it's like it looks like it just like clicks back into like silver
in just like a single frame or something kind of thing. Like beep.
Yeah, which is really weird, and it's not like a light situation. It's not like, oh well, he was sort of in a shaded area. And it was creating like a shadow, so it looked gold. I mean, no, this is like in the middle of the desert.
And it's one of those things too that like you think, because here's like my thing with it. Like I've when you first told me about it, I kind of like, you know, went online and stuff and looked up stuff, and you know, I definitely don't lean towards it just being a mass hallucination, because if that could truly exist, kind of like you said earlier, then that's even more fascinating. The fact that, you know, more than one person can have the same hallucination kind of sounds like a crazy Saturday night party. But, you know, like to me, one article that I read was kind of talking about like the psychological effects that we have on like, or that, you know, certain things in pop culture, where let's say like, okay, one that comes to mind is like lines in movies or titles and stuff, how like over time different people, either how it was reported or someone said it on like a newscast or a MTV movie review or something and that kind of thing, and it's kind of like okay, but this one, the C3PO thing, it's kind of like initially I'm like, well, maybe it's just something that like I totally wouldn't have noticed because, you know, I would have just assumed that he's gold. You go back and watch it and it's like
it just looks
you
weird.
Can't miss it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
So
it's like
obvious.
A situation where you just cannot ignore the fact that he's got a silver appendage. It's so bizarre, man, because I feel like you said, huge Star Wars fan. I've watched him. I'm not even joking. I mean, I'll say the one that I've watched the most because it's my favorite probably is Empire. But I've still watched them all. I mean, I've literally, at the very least, watched them every single year that I've been able to watch movies since I was a kid. It was like my family's tradition at Thanksgiving. We would watch Star Wars every single year. And then nowadays with Disney Plus, dude, I'm not joking. Sometimes I'm like, I don't really know what to watch. Boop, Star Wars, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
So that one kind of like shook me a little bit, like, whoa, weird, you know? Like, how would I have missed that growing up?
Well, and it's the same as James Earl Jones. I mean, he's been, I think there's at least two, if not three interviews where he was being interviewed, you know, I think one was back in the day, one was more, you know, I say recent, but probably still 20 years ago. And he's talking about whenever he read the script and read the line, and every single time he says, Luke, I am your father. And he doesn't say, no, I am your father.
Yeah.
Like it's, to me, that's super bizarre sounding too.
Well, and even speaking of pop culture, that line, even in like Tommy Boy, right?
Oh,
like there's that scene
so
where Tommy
many
Boy's
movies.
got the fan, and he's like, in the little like mechanical arm when he goes back to his dad's business, and he's like, Luke, Luke, you know? And so anytime it's referenced in pop culture, it's referenced like that as well.
Yeah.
Now, I will say, asking an old actor about a line in a movie, but like I can't even remember. We're only 26, 20 whatever episodes in. I can't even remember if we've talked about a certain topic or not.
Yeah, but dude, literally James Earl Jones, that's like
the most famous line.
Probably the most famous line in films ever.
Yeah.
But because I mean we're a little too young for it, but I mean when that came out, when they found that was such a flip and like a change up of like finding out, you know,
it was a huge twist, dude.
A huge twist. And so
real quick, just to kind of branch off for just a second, because I just feel passionate about this.
Okay,
If this is a message or a disclaimer for all either new parents or parents who have not shown their kids Star Wars yet, do not show them.
Oh yeah.
In like numerical order, the Star Wars movies. In other words, just because the first episode 1, The Phantom Menace, just because it has like sillier characters and you think, well, this will be a good way for me to get my kids into it because it's got Jar Jar Binks, they'll laugh, they'll end up liking Star Wars. No. Show them like you witnessed Star Wars so that so that they can experience the shock of finding out who Luke Skywalker's father really is. And if I've spoiled it for you, if you've never seen Star Wars, I'm sorry, but I mean, it's been around for a long time. I apologize, but you got to see, because that reaction, even with my kids, was just like, wait, what? And
same for
I mean,
mine.
it's just the best because I mean, you know, same with me. The first time, it was kind of like, oh my gosh, you know, whoa, and they're not going to have that same experience if you go and you kind of just like watch the prequels and kind of get an understanding of who Anakin Skywalker was. It just doesn't have the same effect.
Well, if you're asking me, I
Just
think you
skip the
can
prequels.
totally skip the prequels.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought they were great when they came out because
Because we're Star Wars fans. Like
we're Star Wars fans.
You know.
But Jesus, Lord, it is
It's
the
tough,
worst.
man.
It looks bad.
I don't like sand. It's coarse and rough and irritating, and it gets everywhere.
It's coarse. I'm going to put that. That's the worst, dude.
But yeah, you know, Luke, I'm your father. I mean, that is like, at least in the top 5, you know, most famous things of all time.
So let me ask you this, man. Because still, if I'm being honest, it just kind of,
Get
to
out.
me, no, you're done. The podcast is over. I quit. To
That's
me,
it.
it still seems kind of like, you know, a sort of just, I don't know, misremembering certain things. But I mean, like, what, in other words, what is because I don't know this part, what is the explanation of what the crap is going on here? Is it like a rift in time or like in the dimensions? In other words, like maybe at some point in our collective history, there's been a moment that kind of we all sort of shifted to that other sort of dimension. And now we're, you know, kind of here. And so we're experiencing all that stuff. I mean, whatever they saying is the deal.
Well, I think I mean, there's several different theories, and I was going to go into this kind of in the end, but we'll do it now. But like, basically, okay, for example, like one of the theories is, if you believe in the multiverse, or if you believe in the idea that there are multiple realities or multiple dimensions, an easy way of looking at it is, say I'm standing here, and then say there's another me in another reality to my right, and then there's another me in another reality to my left, and say we go throughout our day and everything's exactly the same. Obviously, we can't see each other, which this could trail off into like what I believe ghosts are and all that stuff too. But if you're looking at like multiple dimensions as there's a me to my right, there's a me to my left. The me to my left, say he, instead of not saying hi to his wife that morning, that starts an argument. That argument snowballs, and then 2 years later, they end up getting a divorce. But it was caused by that one linchpin butterfly effect move. And the one, me in the middle, I didn't do that. I said, "Good morning, Courtney," and then everything was great. And so it's like these it's like the multiverse theory. It's like there's an infinite amount of us making infinite amount of different decisions. And so the idea is like we're all on this reality, and then somehow, whether, and this is where it could get kind of crazy, but somehow, whether natural or whether created,
because of the tunnel in freaking
Switzerland. And I'll get into CERN here in a minute, but it's like somehow we just merged, and we merged into another reality where not a ton of stuff has changed, but there's little things here and there that have like little trivial sort of zeitgeist pop culture things that have changed. I mean, dude, I think for me the biggest one when I first heard the Ed McMahon one, this thing it like legitimately blew my mind, because I used to stay at my grandmother's all the time, and she would do Publishers Clearinghouse. I mean, every single few days it would come in. And I mean, what a ripoff now that you look back and think about it. But, I mean, it's kind of like playing the lottery, I guess. But, I mean, I specifically remember commercials where Ed McMahon would come with the prize patrol, and he would bring, like, the big checks and, like, the commercials with the balloons and stuff. Ed McMahon has never worked for Publishers Clearinghouse. And that blew my mind. Like, legitimately blew my mind, even down to, and there are some residual stuff on that where he was a sort of a side character on, what was it, on The Tonight Show. Mm-hmm. And he would kind of come on and off. He was sort of a revisiting character.
Like a recurring.
Like a recurring.
The word you're looking for is recurring.
Recurring, but he wasn't really like a co-host. He was sort of a...
Oh, yeah, revisiting.
I know what that... you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But anyway, when he had been there for so long, as a joke, I guess it would have been Letterman or Carson.
This is where Carson. I want to say
probably Carson, yeah. I think it may have been his last episode or something like that. They literally brought out a check that said Publishers Clearinghouse as like a joke to give him the check as his last thing. Then also he kind of got a little low on his luck later on in life and did like this sort of mock parody like rap song, and which is terrible. And he's talking about the Publishers Clearinghouse. And it's like, and the song is talking about him going back to those houses all those years and taking back those checks, which is pretty funny. But the idea that, I mean, and I've called almost every member of my family that's older that would remember that, because, a lot of like younger kids would have no idea what I'm even talking about. But
they don't know who Ed McMahon is.
Yeah, they don't even know who he is. And so, but I mean, if you just said Ed McMahon.
I mean, truthfully, like, again, this is kind of calling myself out here. I know Johnny Carson's like, everyone loves him and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
He always kind of weirded me out, man. And I never really like his humor. I just, maybe it was just like for the time. I don't know. Yeah. I just never, in other words, I was young enough to where I just we didn't watch Johnny Carson.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe every now and then, if I was at my grandparents' house or something, they loved him.
Mm-hmm.
And so like, I know Ed McMahon because of this. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Exactly. Yeah.
Maybe
yeah,
there was
same
like
here.
another show with Star Search or something.
Yeah, and that was later. And I think I even remember seeing the Publishers Clearinghouse commercials during Star Search.
Yeah.
Like it was one of those sort of, tie-in kind of branding things. But this thing seriously blew my mind. I mean, I'm telling you, if someone has never heard of the Mandela Effect, and you ask anybody over the age of 50, just go up to a random stranger and say, "Hey, what do you know about Ed McMahon? What is he known for?" Every single one of those people is going to say, they may say Star Search, but they are definitely going to say Publishers Clearinghouse.
Yeah.
And so that blew my mind. Another one that was kind of crazy. So you kind of got this one wrong, but I think this was probably because of you being in Indonesia. But the most famous one that I know, when I brought up the Lassie thing, is, and I know I got off of, I just realized that I totally veered away from like the reason behind all this stuff, and I'll get back to that. But like with Lassie, the most famous thing is like, do what? Timmy's in a well? And so he had fallen, like a kid had fallen in a well, and that was like the big thing.
Okay.
There was never that episode. Even though there's been movies and movies where, there was even a Geico commercial a while back where it was like, what? Timmy's in a well? And like, this is something that has never happened. There has never been an episode of Lassie where somebody falls in a well.
Man.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
Is the Sally Fields thing. They love me. They really love me. It's never been that.
That never happened?
That never happened. The only thing she says is, I can't deny that you like me. Right now, you like me.
What?
Not even.
This one is definitely also a mind-blowing one for me.
Yeah,
because
me too.
Think about it, in The Mask.
Yep.
Of course, I better like review that one as well. But like, there's that scene where he's pretending like he's doing an Oscar acceptance speech.
Yep.
Thank you. You love me. You really love me.
Yeah, and we've seen that all throughout like pop culture and all that. But no, she never said that. Same with the girl. You may not get this one. You may. Do you remember in James Bond the character Jaws?
Kind of, yeah.
There was one where he kind of like flirts with this other young girl, and she kind of flirts back with him because she has braces. Well, anyway, basically you go back now, and so that was like the whole sort of crux of the slightly comedic element of that little scene is like, you have Jaws, who's this guy who has like these like metal teeth, and then this girl kind of finds like a similarity in him because she has, braces. Well, now if you go back, she smiles and has no braces, which makes no sense at all.
Yeah.
Like the whole scene doesn't make sense now. That's weird. It's same thing with I Love Lucy. Lucy, you have some splaining to do.
Yeah.
Has never happened.
Never happened.
He's never said splaining to anything. And that's another one. We hear that. We've heard that
All
in
the time.
movies, everything. He's never one time said that.
Man.
Yeah.
It's so bizarre. I mean, basically, in 20 years, people are going to say, "Hey, man, you remember that that podcast? That Would Be Rad."
Mm-hmm.
And then they're going to look at the logo, and it's going to say something like
the Rad years.
Good God. No, it'll say something like "Thee will be radical." I mean, that's just how weird and bizarre it is. But I don't know, man. It's
tough. I mean, it's crazy, dude. I mean, like the Field of Dreams. Now it says, if you build it, he will come.
And here's my thing about that movie. I watched it on an airplane flying back from like Switzerland or something when I was a kid. And I was just because back in the day, again, for the younger audience, although I think most of the people that listen to our podcast are right in our age range, and so they understand what we're doing and talking about. But just in case, back then, now you go on an airplane and every single person's got a screen. They can choose what movies they want to watch. It's awesome for the kids. Back then, there was just like a TV.
One movie.
That was just like positioned every maybe 10 seats or so.
Yeah.
Or like a big screen in the middle. And it was just one movie.
Yep.
You know, and so when you're a kid, you get on the airplane, you start looking through the in-flight magazine. You want to find out what movies are playing. And, oh my God, 9 times out of 10, you'd be like in the hemisphere that was playing like the worst movie. And then, you know, the other flights would be playing the good one. And, you know, Field of Dreams was the movie. And I was like, oh, God, this is going to be so boring.
Such a good movie.
It is, man. But I just, because of that, like, experience, I probably haven't watched it again since, probably since, man. I just despised it at the time.
Oh, I loved it. But yeah, if you build it, he will come. Sounds super weird. Morpheus, there's been a million memes made. It says, what if I told you that da-da-da-da-da and da-da-da-da-da? He never said that. Never.
Yeah. Man,
Ned Stark has never said, brace yourselves, winter is coming. He's never said, brace yourselves at all. Tinkerbell, the thing that I was talking about with Tinkerbell is I specifically remember, like you were saying, she kind of comes out of the foreground, like she's, moving further out, moving away from the camera, and she would fly around the word Disney, and then her wand, she would hit the little dot and I, and it would go bling, and then she would fly off. She's never done that.
Weird. Like she doesn't have a wand, or she just doesn't fly in that direction?
She's never done that, but even if you go and find those now, like this is one that I looked up this morning, and it just doesn't look right. It looks really, really bizarre.
Weird, man.
Yeah. The heart is dead center now. So put your hand on your heart when you were a kid, and you'd put your hand over your left chest. No longer slightly to the left. It's dead center. Your kidneys, which this is an odd one because in the, what is it? It's like BDRM, BDSM or something. Not that BDSM, but there's like a guidebook where it says like illegal punches to the kidney, you know, they're illegal because they can basically cause internal bleeding.
Yeah.
Now your kidneys are up inside of your ribs. So if you get punched in the kidneys, you're not hitting your kidneys like in the old days.
What the hell?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Your eyes basically, remember the old like badass like 80s like metal patches and stuff where you would see like a skull and then you'd see like a snake crawling through one eye hole coming out the other? You can't do that now. It's like filled with, and actually I'm sure that we have a ton of D&D books that have a snake or something coming through the eyes of a skull. But now they have, now they're filled in.
Yeah, I do remember that. I'm saying I do. My last recollection of the skull was that it was like a cavity, but it wasn't like completely hollow. It doesn't lead straight into your brain. You know, there's like there's a separator in between there. Now, I bet you didn't know that my wife actually has 3 kidneys.
Really?
Yep.
How's she so thin then?
Her endocrine system is just awesome. Yeah, that's weird, man.
That's
I'm
awesome.
looking at the, they're like located like in the lower, if you can imagine, if you're listening, imagine the very last section of your ribs kind of, and then sort of slightly to the back of that. And you know what's funny? I think part of the reason why, now I'm not trying to explain away the Mandela Effect, but part of the reason why I think that we feel like they're a little bit lower than they are is because where they're situated, if you got punched like in and around that area, you know, you would kind of feel it. They're lower than I would have thought. I mean, they're higher than I would have thought, but it kind of, you know.
Well, this one had a couple of residual stuff too, where people have, you know, poured over like these old
Medical volumes and stuff.
Like the hardcore ones. Another residual that's really interesting is a lot of people used to remember a country or a landmass to the left of Australia, and now there's nothing there. But what's weird is somebody was watching Dazed and Confused, and they happened to see a globe where the dude's spinning the globe, and they paused it, and boom, there's that landmass.
Yeah, I don't remember that. I mean, Indonesia, it's not really a landmass. It's a archipelago of islands, but
No, this was like apparently like a whole other, something that's not here now. I'm not the greatest at geography, so there's that. Cruella de Vil is now spelled devil, which is weird. JFK. This is one where there is
there's 15 guys in the car.
No, it was a 6-seat car, and there were 6 people in the car. And what's weird is if you go to the museum, and I can't remember if it was one of the Smithsonian ones or if it was a Crime and Punishment Museum, but there's one where there's like the exact replica, and I have a picture of it on my phone, and it only has, it's a regular, 4 doors.
4-seater.
4 seats. Yeah, the Lindbergh baby was, this was a huge deal back in the day. Now.
What time period is this?
This would be more like
the 50s or something?
Amelia Earhart era. Like the Aviator.
it's like 1932 is when it happened. I just looked it up.
Yeah, they found the remains, and then they ended up tracking down the person who did it. Well, I think they tracked him down. Maybe they didn't. The risky business thing is another one that absolutely blows my mind. I know for a fact, and this is another one that has a ton of residual. You look online, and it's everywhere. Everybody's cosplaying Tom Cruise. You have underwear, a white shirt, unbuttoned down to your chest, black aviators and socks, and it's everywhere. Yeah, but now he has no aviators, and he has a pink shirt on.
Weird.
Which is really bizarre, yeah. Neil Armstrong died in 2012, but nobody remembers it. Yeah. Sorry, Neil. Flintstones is actually spelled Flynn Stones.
What does that mean?
It doesn't mean anything. Because
I see what you're saying. So you're saying it's spelled Flin and then stones.
Yeah.
Instead of Flint.
Not like Flint, like the actual rock, which is Flint Stones.
Yeah.
That one blows my mind a little too.
Yeah.
We're gonna need a bigger boat is now you're gonna need a bigger boat. Fruit of the Loom, there's no cornucopia. It's just fruit sitting there.
Yeah. That one I couldn't remember.
Well, I'm gonna send you a picture of this one because that one, like, once you see it, you're like, yeah, that's not right. Cheez-Its is only called Cheez-It, singular.
Huh.
Double Stuff is just spelled double STUF.
Nice.
Mona Lisa has no smile whatsoever. Chartreuse, instead of like a pink, fuchsia, magenta color like I've always thought it was, is actually green.
Yeah, definitely. I thought it was like a purple,
yeah,
beige,
me too.
something like that.
Yeah, same here. On Forrest Gump, life is like a box of chocolates is now life was like a box of chocolates.
Weird.
Which,
man. I wonder if there's like, I wish folks studying the Mandela Effect could like find the rift. You know what I'm saying? Like, in other words, it sounds to me like, well, that's not fair. But to me, it's like after a certain time in like the 90s.
Well, they do believe that. I think they believe that, and I may have said this wrong. Maybe Fiona Broome discovered it in 2010 or something, and so maybe they think, or 2010 or 2012, and either people believe that the rift happened in 2008 or 2010.
Huh.
That's when they think that things started getting like
wonky.
Yeah. But yeah, life was like a box of chocolates. That doesn't even make sense. And another residue is they actually have that bench in a museum. No. It's in the lobby of a film studio like Warner Brothers or Fox or whoever did that. And it has a plaque on it that says life is like a box of chocolates.
Jeez, man.
Which is weird, yeah. Gandalf saying, run, you fools, doesn't say that. He says, now fly, you fools, which makes zero sense. Why would he say that?
Oh, I don't know. Man, I wish I could. I think my brother, if you're listening, I think you have my Lord of the Rings books, sucker. Because I have The Hobbit, and it came in a set of the rest of them, Lord of the Rings.
I still like The Hobbit the best, though.
Yeah. Well,
it's just the easiest to. I read them when I was like a kid, and it was the easiest to swallow.
That was the first one I read, too. But, man, there's some good stuff in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. Couple more. So, yeah, fly, you fools, which is, what does that even mean? Hello, Clarice, one of the most famous things in pop culture. He never says that now. He literally just says good morning. Not good morning, Clarice, just good morning.
There's got to be something else in that movie where he says
No,
Clarice.
he never says that.
I'm going to watch it.
Watch it.
Right now.
Do it.
Did you know that there was like a prequel to that called Manhunter that came out several years before? It's got, who's the guy that, and instead of Anthony Hopkins, it was the guy that plays, the guy that plays the, kind of like the FBI dude is the same guy that plays the dad in the movie Fear with Marky Mark.
I don't remember that guy.
William Peterson. You would know him from CSI, Crime Scene Investigation. Fear. And if you don't remember that movie, man, Nicole Forever. You know, he's like super famous for like CSI. But let's see. But the guy that plays Hannibal Lecter is Brian Cox. Everybody would know him from playing Stryker in X2. He also played Agamemnon in Troy. He played...
Yeah, he's great, actually. He plays on... he's the dad in Succession.
Yes, exactly.
Which you still haven't seen, and it's amazing.
I watched the first 2 episodes, and you're right. It is unbelievable. It's just one of those things, man, that I always...
Keep going.
I know, man. It's awesome. All the characters are just incredible. But anyway, Manhunter is... I never knew that it existed. I didn't know anything about it. But whenever I got one of the big, huge sort of boxes of VHS that I got either at a, going like yard selling in the spring with my son, that's the best, by the way, because, people just like have this big old box and they're like 50 cents each or whatever. And I just like walk up and I say, how much for the whole box?
$10.
Like, well, I mean, I was thinking 25. And the trick is you don't say a word. It makes them nervous as heck. You just dead silent. They're like, well, I was thinking 25, just nothing.
God, I'm so bad at that.
And then they're like, I would do 20. And then I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, I don't have any change. Here's a $20 bill. Bam. I've got like 1,000 VHS for like nothing. Mm-hmm. That's the trick, man. I'm just giving out gold today. Just pure gold.
I like it. Yeah, going back, this one blew my mind, and this one leaves residual everywhere because it was on a James Corden karaoke car ride deal thing that he does. Queen, We Are the Champions. At the very end, everybody remembers it, Of the World. And yes, he does say Of the World at the end of the Wembley performance, but he says it completely different. It's not what you hear in your mind, that da-na-na.
Now, doesn't he say it like in the song? Forget about the ending. He says it at some point in the song as well, and that's why.
Yeah, but it's still slightly different though, because it's coming in. It goes right back into like another verse, so it's like it's not like the drawn out like dun dun of the world.
Yeah. I see what you're saying.
So that's weird. The single one that blew my mind the most is...
Here we go. I know what you're about to say.
It's
you
Mirror
listed
Mirror.
It earlier. Huh?
It's Mirror Mirror.
Oh, never mind. Okay. You still have one that you didn't even ask me about because
I know exactly what...
Yeah.
Because I knew what you were going to say about it.
Yeah.
And we'll get into that in a second. But no.
Longest episode ever.
So this may be a two-parter. Anyway, so there's a scene where James Corden, he's like a late show host, and he does this thing where he drives around with musicians and celebrities, and they all sing along a song. Well, they do it, and I think it's like George Clooney, maybe Brad Pitt, some like real big stars, and every single one of them at the very end all yell out Of the World, and then they're all like, what? Where'd it go?
Weird.
It's crazy. Yeah, I'm actually really happy that that's, something that's in pop culture. So
yeah.
Another one that's mind-blowing is It's a Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, which is odd because in 92, he won the Peabody Award for recognition of for making 25 years of beautiful days in the neighborhood. Even the movie, it says The Neighborhood over and over and over. But in the actual real theme song, it says It's a Beautiful Day in This Neighborhood, which is dead wrong.
Man.
It's just like, just sing it. It's a beautiful day in this neighborhood.
Yeah.
It's just wrong. So a lot of crazy stuff, man. And there's more. There's a ton more. I mean, there's like
I'm still not sold.
Are you serious?
I mean,
You literally missed
there's some. Look.
there's 55 out of 65.
Yeah, I know, but at the same time, I just don't remember those right. Like,
Well, that's what they want
Matrix.
you to think.
That is what they want us to think. No, I mean, I'm more
Okay,
leaning
so
towards that.
so why is it that?
Yeah,
and
I don't
again,
know. That's the thing. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's not that I don't believe it. It's just I don't.
it cannot just be. I mean, I
I
know it's.
wouldn't know the answer to why would that even possibly be happening, other than you know.
Well,
what I'm saying?
there's several reasons, but my whole thing is like, okay, there's no way that, you know, we're all different people. We all kind of, we all grow up with different sort of experiences, and that's what makes us as people. And obviously, we're all kind of locked into varying levels of pop culture and knowledge about, you know, the general zeitgeist of like popularity and what was popular 10 years ago versus now. And, you know, that's kind of like an ever evolving thing. But my deal is it cannot just be a mass like misremembering issue when you can ask literally every single person over the age of 50 who Ed McMahon was, and they're going to say Publishers Clearinghouse.
Mm-hmm.
Or like, I mean, really, I mean, Mirror Mirror, Disney made a movie called Mirror Mirror, even though the original it says Mirror Mirror on the Wall. Oh, and this is another thing that's crazy, Woody. You remember when I first told you this like several years ago?
Yeah.
And I was flipping out about like, that's just crazy. Like, it's never been Magic Mirror. That is total bullshit. Now, it's not Mirror Mirror on the Wall, who's the fairest of them all. Now it's Magic Mirror on the Wall, who's the fairest one of all. Even that's changed now. And I don't even remember that being different when I first told you about it.
Yeah.
Because I would have told you.
Yeah. I don't know.
If
I'll
you
agree with you. Hold on. I'll agree with you that what I was trying to say is not like I wasn't questioning in terms of the Mandela Effect. I'm questioning in terms of like other than the Mandela Effect, why in the heck would this be happening? Because that's the thing. There's just so many, and it's like across the board from movies to historical things.
I think that there's been you know similar to the thing we were talking about the other day with the Statue of Liberty.
Yeah,
my mom has been in the torch of the Statue of Liberty when she took her first trip to New York with my ex, he passed away, stepdad Rick. But apparently now, in this reality, there was some invasion that nobody's ever heard of, called, this is referred to as the Black Tom, where these Germans invaded New York and set off 100,000 pounds of TNT, and they damaged the Statue of Liberty so much that nobody has been able to get up and to even enter the torch since 1916 or 1920. I can't remember, one of the two. And that's mind blowing to me. That's like, as much as they were pushing like the patriotism and like the, you know, this hasn't happened since Pearl Harbor, and we haven't had a situation like this since Pearl Harbor. You know, whenever the 9/11 thing happened.
Yeah.
Not one time did anybody reference this Black Tom event.
Yeah.
100,000 pounds of TNT, enough to damage a statue that's literally as big as
icon.
like.
Well, not only that, it's just the icon of our country.
Right. And so it's just really bizarre. There's a lot of like, I think let's get into like sort of the reason. So the sort of probably most normal one is that somehow we don't totally understand how multiverse works. We don't totally understand whatever. And so somewhere along the way there was a merge. Maybe it was 2008, maybe it's 2010, but something happened around that time where at least people started realizing it. And maybe it has happened, it has been going on forever where things have just been like changing, you know, but like now we have the internet and now we have a way of communicating and like sharing ideas and like, hey, let's create a group and like really start tracking down these
and stuff. Yeah.
It's
harder to hide even this kind of stuff, you know, like,
right.
Yeah.
Right. And so maybe there was a merge. There's another theory that, and the merge also kind of makes sense because like the interesting thing is, so I basically did this exact same thing when I was sharing an office with my buddy Ras, another designer that I used to work with. And I asked him the same thing, and at the time he was 22, maybe 23, early 20s. And it was super weird because for him, I mean, maybe there were like one or two that he was kind of blown away with, like me. But 9 out of 10, he got completely right as what they are now.
Because he was born after the merge.
Because he was born after.
Okay.
And so the theory is like, if there was some kind of like merge of realities or merge of like a dimensional kind of shift, whoever was born after that, that's just the way that they've always. That's
been the reality they know.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
There's another theory that, maybe it's more of a sort of like a darker thing. Maybe it's and this is where it gets really interesting as far as a lot of the things in the Bible have changed. To me, that's the one that's like, I mean, it's pretty scary if you start looking because, there's a verse in the Bible that basically talks about you should basically write the Bible on your heart. So you should know like the Bible front and back and basically memorize it. So if those Bibles are ever taken away, then you know what the Word of God is, and you know the gospel because it's written in your heart. Well, that kind of takes on a new meaning if you look at it as like, okay, well, this is weird because now these things that we always just, this is just what we know. Like this is these things that we're talking about. These are foundational things to my childhood, to my adulthood that I know without a doubt that there's a Holy Grail in the Last Supper painting. Well, now that Holy Grail's gone. And that's the thing too, is there's like a million residuals for the biblical stuff. I mean, they're everywhere. Like the lion will lie with the lamb. I read this article where this guy was talking. He's a theologist, and he used a German King James Version Bible from 1817. And like it says, it's never been the lion will lie with the lamb. It says the lion will lie with the wolf. And you look on Google, and there's a billion paintings, pictures of a lion laying with a lamb. It says peace will reign in the kingdom, and the lion will lie down with the wolf.
Yeah, but like lions and wolves are like just natural predators, huh?
Yeah, but I mean, the whole thing is like, I mean, there's the symbolism of the lion and the lamb are very like sort of symbolic and like,
Sure.
But there's no passages which speak of a lion laying down with a lamb. Even though more residuals, there's even on 2 or 3 Vatican windows, you see the lion lying down with a lamb, and there's even, I think it belongs to the Vatican, there's like a $200,000 painting of a lion with a lamb. So it's like, like where's all this coming from? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's more of sort of like a darker thing. Like, okay, so maybe if you think of like good and evil, if you're Christian, maybe it's a Christian versus the devil thing, or God versus the devil kind of thing. I don't know. I don't know where that stands. I feel like a lot of these are, I don't know. I feel like that would have a lot more credence if it were only things changing like biblically.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But there's so many sort of trivial like pop culture zeitgeist kind of stuff that it seems like it's just like an overall like something change. So the final deal is there's a research facility / organization called CERN that it's like the largest particle physics laboratory in the world. It's the biggest and most advanced machine that has ever been built in the world. It was established in 1954. It's in Geneva, Switzerland, and it's right on the Franco-Swiss border.
Yeah, I mean, they've been in the news relatively, not a lot in the past couple of years, but I mean, relatively frequent, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, if you've never heard of CERN, look it up. It's massive. And again, I think we should have a whole episode that goes into the darker
physics?
aspects. The darker aspects of CERN, because it gets really bizarre. I mean, like the logo, if you look at it, I mean, it's literally 666. I'm sorry, but and like for all those like non-conspiracy theorists, like it's hard not to look at and be like, yeah, that's kind of 666. They had this ceremony. So basically, what CERN does is it's something over the course of that. They have institutions in 70 countries. This is basically the place where the internet was created. It's just like the biggest machine ever created. And again, if you look at it in like a darker way, with it being the birthplace of the World Wide Web, then like, that could kind of play into it. Basically, they have like underground, they have these tunnels that go something like 70 miles, and they'll send a particle one direction, then they'll send the other one the other direction, and it builds up so much speed that it's going so fast that they smash into each other, and that's like basically they're trying to see the origin of like dark matter or black matter, or creating black holes. There's a lot of sort of stuff that they're doing that's way above our pay grade, but a lot of people believe
particle acceleration.
Yeah, right.
Studying the sort of paths and stuff that particles do. And man, kind of like on a side note, just on the science side of things too, man, there are some really kind of fascinating things that they're doing over there.
Pretty damn scary though.
Yeah, it is pretty crazy, man.
I mean, it's pretty fascinating, the stuff that they do. The machine is called the Large Hadron Collider. I don't know if I said that already, but I mean, they're really messing with like reality and messing with like black holes and dark matter.
Could be, yeah, like black holes, even things like, oh gosh, what's it called, man? Like trying to not reenact, but like,
you're talking about like recreate like the Big Bang?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Which, if you think about it, forget about like, take religion out of it, right? So scientifically, the Big Bang is the way that us humans can try to explain creation, essentially,
right,
of our planet and our solar system and stuff. Trying to recreate that in a lab, we'll say, you're right, it's pretty dang terrifying. Like, what are we doing here, man?
Yeah. Well, and I think as smart as these people are, I mean, I would venture to say there's probably some really, really intelligent people over there.
Or maybe the smartest on the planet, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But even as smart as they are, no one knows what exactly is going to happen when you smash particles together and create a black hole here on the planet. I mean, they did not develop, but they did discover a new particle, the Higgs boson. And so there's some cool stuff, but like, it gets weird. And if you start looking into it, like there was a whistleblower apparently who filmed a video, and since then they've said, oh, well, it was just like a joke. I don't know that I buy that it was a joke. You can probably find it on YouTube if they haven't taken it all down by now, but like there's a person who from one of the buildings was filming, and this was like at 2 or 3 in the morning, and out front this is another thing too, they have a statue of Shiva, which is the Indian goddess of destruction. So why would of all the scientific people that I know, the last thing they're going to have is some sort of religious archetype out front of the lab? And on top of that, why are you going to have the one who is the goddess of destruction? It's just bizarre. But anyway, aside from that, there's like a ritual, which they say is a mock ritual. I'm not so sure. There's people, all these people in robes. They're all standing around. I think they're like holding someone down in the middle. You can't really see that great, but so there's that. And then for me, the most telling thing is there was I don't know, I can't remember. It was maybe like 5 years ago. They opened like a new portion of the tunnel so they could extend. Like I said, it's like 80 miles, I guess, and I think they opened another like portion of the tunnel, so now it's like 100 miles maybe. And this goes underground under several different countries, and they're all kind of tied in together. They all have like an agreement, I guess, if you will. So they open this tunnel, and there's no other way of saying it other than it's this straight up ritualistic thing. I mean, there's this sort of like goat-horned deity, which is, very similar to like Baphomet or Baal, if you know your, sort of pre-Babylonian biblical demigods, and you have him leading. You have these babies that are like angels that look like they're crying, but they also have like horns. You have all these like sort of naked, like I'm guessing almost like a druid type thing, like and so if you think of it like, oh well, that's weird. Maybe it was like a joke. No, this thing was like several hours, and this was like a kick off like one of the most advanced scientific achievements. So why are you going to have this super odd like pagan, maybe even Luciferian like ritual to like kick it off? It's really bizarre. Like, and I'll send you the stuff, Woody. Like, because I know it sounds like, oh, you're probably looking into it. Like, no, once you see this, you're like,
no, that one sounds crazy. Now I will make a quick Be Kind rewind here. So Shiva is known as the quote unquote the destroyer within the like Hindu Trinity, which includes Brahma and Vishnu.
Yep.
But Shiva is kind of stated to be the energy and creative power. Basically, what is it? Oh, the Supreme Lord who creates, protects, and transforms the universe within that Trinity.
Well, but
now whether or not they
that's the thing though. To create though, she has to destroy.
Yeah, and in the most fierce aspects of Shiva is, often depicted like slaying demons and stuff like that. So still kind of a strange choice, but I mean,
you're telling me if we went to NASA, you're gonna find Joseph and his Technicolor Dreamcoat?
No,
on the ground.
No. So I mean, it is weird. It's interesting. I would.
So all that to say, it's basically. It's just a really weird thing to have.
Well, and it's scary. I mean,
it's very scary. Yeah.
No matter what, theories exist. Sometimes it's like okay to like test them.
Yeah.
And hypotheses and stuff. But boy, I mean, I will say that you have piqued my interest in trying to track down certain things that have happened at CERN and when this rift might have occurred. Because I think if you're asking me right now, after everything that you've presented,
you think CERN?
I would say that there's some pretty strong evidence that something has happened. And
okay, well, let me finish this before you finish that. Okay. So the main thing, that was just a lead up. So there was a video that went around that was, like when you worked at the hospital, you would have sort of like your in-house videos. And so there was a video that was made that wasn't
training videos or something like that.
Kind of like training videos, but it was sort of like they had just done something that was kind of like an achievement, and it was it was one of those videos that was like, maybe if somebody new started, it would be like, hey, look how fun we are here, da 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 da, like
the kind that Michael Scott would make.
Exactly, that's exactly right. But it wasn't for anybody in the public. It wasn't for anything like that. Well, in this video, and I'm probably going to get this wrong, but in this video, it goes to this one scientist. I mean, he looks straight up like, he has a long white beard, crazy hair, and he basically is holding up this sign that says something Mandela, and then it says something Mandela, and then it like clips to something else, and then it does another like fast pass over him, and he has another one that says something like first Bond name or something, which is like Nelson Mandela, like something Craig T. Nelson or whatever his name is.
You mean like the actor?
Yeah,
I mean like the coach guy.
Maybe I'm totally ruining this, and that's not right. But it's something like, it's like, okay, you have this internal video of the biggest scientific place on the planet that's ever been in all of time ever.
So this is CERN.
And
it's an internal video, and there's just some dude holding something that says Mandela on it.
Hold on a minute, I gotta find this.
I mean that you could end the story there, and that's kind of weird and I mean intriguing just alone.
Here, I'm sending it to you.
Yeah. Ooh, dude,
I love it.
Bond 1 Mandela. It says, what does he say? No, we are something CERN. And I will say that and we're going to put this up in the artifacts, but my desk currently looks like that. But instead of like, it's a half mix equal 50-50 of work that I'm doing insurance agent wise. And then the other half is like Dungeons and Dragons character sheets and hand-drawn maps. It's just it's a circus over here. But I don't have any signs around my neck, I guess is the good news.
Well, I mean, you know what I mean? It's like, why would he do that? It's like Bond 1, so that was whatever the guy's last name. Who was the first Bond? I think his name is Nelson.
Yeah. Oh, so maybe that's okay. I see what you're saying. Like,
And
it's
then
a clue to Bond 1. Or,
And then, but I mean, again, this is CERN, the biggest laboratory in the world. Why is there a guy on an internal video holding 2 signs around his neck that says Bond 1, and that first actor is last name Nelson, and then another sign over it that says Mandela, and then there's something in this third sign that I'm seeing now, but...
it says something like...
Well, no, not that one. I'm looking at another thing that says... It says, has anyone ever seen the third sign that's like turned towards him? Then there's another theory too that, again, I don't know what I believe about this one, but I think several years ago there was like in 4chan or 8chan, there was basically a guy that was claiming to be a CERN whistleblower, and apparently, I'm not like a huge Reddit guy, so there's probably guys out, for all you folks out there that are, and about this stuff, hit us up because it's fascinating. But apparently there was a guy who like predicted several things that they were going to change, and then they changed, which is like pretty fascinating.
Dude, you know what? It kind of like, now that I'm looking at it through that lens, like they know that they can make like little changes that aren't going to necessarily ruin the universe.
Yeah.
And then some of them just kind of got out of hand, or they're like, imagine these guys like sitting there knowing that, okay, when we do this, I don't know, man. It kind of goes back to like, am I in WandaVision, bro?
Yeah.
Like what is going on? Which, by the way, man, I got to say, each episode's getting
it's
more
getting
and more
better.
Intriguing. Yeah.
I think so too.
And it's not Columbo, but
Jesus. But yeah, dude, that's the...
Okay, I'm going to give it to you, okay? Now, we came a long way through it, but I will say, man, you make a compelling case here, whereas, and I got to, everybody's heard us since we started this podcast. Like, anytime Tyler brings up the Mandela Effect, I'm like, oh,
you just shit on it.
Just because it's like, man, like, but thing after thing after thing after thing, and coupled with the fact that like people are messing with, particles. I think it was 2012 when they found Higgs
boson.
Higgs, yeah. Maybe there's something to that, man. Because I mean, like, I think the truth is the fabric of reality, and the anytime you start messing with like particles and all this kind of stuff, I do feel like there is a high probability of just things shifting, and like whatever episode it was that we kind of talked about. Oh, it was the I almost said DB Cooper, but we hadn't done that one yet. It was the Man from Taured, one of our first episodes, one of our first Tales from the Time Capsule, and we kind of talked about this concept of the multiverse and how like with every single choice that we make throughout a day. Now, like we kind of said earlier in this show, in this episode, we're kind of working from home more nowadays, and so we have less of those choices to make. But what if instead of, going straight home after you drop your kid off, you just decided, well, you know what? I kind of feel like another Red Bull today. And you go and you make that decision. And there's all these different rifts throughout our day of different outcomes. And it's easier for us to kind of think, well, whatever the chosen outcome that we chose in that moment is the only possible anything, the only thing that's existing. That's the easy choice, right? But if you think about it a little bit broader and you think that all of those choices and all of the infinite possibilities exist simultaneously, if you can kind of like think about it that way, I'm not saying believe it, but just think about it that way, listeners. And then add to that there are people, scientists currently, you don't even have to be a conspiracy theorist, It's just that the facts are there's a scientific community experimenting with things like, heck, I think they call it the God particle.
Actually, I think that may be the Higgs boson.
Yeah. And like trying to duplicate the Big Bang, trying to essentially duplicate everything from creation to black holes even. I mean, there's just an article that came out yesterday about black holes. You know, and there's just so much to the universe in our known universe that we don't know. Forget about the fact of the unknown universe and all of the stuff around us, you know. And it does make it kind of scary. I mean, if the universe is listening or if the scientists at CERN have tuned in, can you somehow make it to where Sour Patch Kids are healthy? Because that would be killer.
And oatmeal cream pies, because my God, I love those things.
Man. Yeah.
Oh, also, quick note, the first person to portray Ian Fleming's James Bond was named Barry Nelson. So Nelson Mandela.
That's
and
bizarre.
then we are
And
happy
is
at
this
CERN.
video? Is this video like? Can you find the video, or is it just these stills that people?
No. Yeah. You can find. I've seen it before. Okay. It's actually kind of long, and it's like one of those. I mean, like you said, it's straight up Michael Scott, which R.I.P. from being off Netflix. That sucks.
Yeah. And I will attack you with the North.
No, but it's like, I think there's, from what I remember, and it's been several years, but I think there's sort of like cheesy music in the background. No. Maybe it's like, that's what it is. It's like that happy song, like,
Pharrell?
Yeah, cheesy song. But I think it's that, and it's just showing kind of like clips of like, hey, we're scientists, but look how fun we are here. But yeah, I'll look it up this week too, more into like the Reddit, the whistleblower, the CERN whistleblower, because there's a lot of stuff that he said. I mean, and again, it gets real like, you know, super sciencey, and it gets really big into like physics and a lot of the
I love that stuff.
Yeah, but this is like, I mean, I love that stuff too. I love physics, I love string theory, all that stuff. But like, he gets into like the actual components of like the Large Hadron Collider and like how a lot of that stuff works.
Wow.
Yeah.
Here's kind of what I want to do. I kind of want to invite anybody who is listening who has some of these that maybe we missed, that they kind of remember differently than they are presented now in our, I guess, what we'll call our current reality. If you have anything like that we didn't talk about, I know Tyler didn't mention this one, but one of the first, well, not one of the first ones, but one of the ones that he has texted me is Bruce Springsteen on the cover of, go ahead and just tell him real quick.
Yeah, well, the cover of Born in the USA, which is an iconic image of Bruce Springsteen, turn around, tucked in white shirt to those classic Levi's 511 jeans, and in his back pocket he has a red handkerchief, which throughout his earlier years he's seen, well, and that era too, he's seen with that red handkerchief wrapped around his, like a headband, like around his head. Now, if you go look at that, it is a red baseball cap, which
like a really worn, like a old as crap baseball, just hanging out of the back pocket, with like the bill sort of like folded and tucked into his back pocket,
which is just totally wrong. I'm sorry.
And you know, it was one of those things where you asked me about it, I was like, I don't really know, and then I just looked up. You're like, dude, trust me, Bruce Springsteen never ever in his life has worn a baseball hat. And then like I Googled it, and I just I found it where he's wearing that hat at like a baseball.
But
baseball
who
game.
has
and the
ever
T-shirt and everything? Yeah, no,
yeah, but
me neither.
I mean,
I thought it was a bandana for sure as well.
Well, because the bandana was like that was like part of his thing.
Yeah, man, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, hell, that's what we did in the band for the longest time. We had bandanas.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, this is one of those topics that I am so glad, I'm so overjoyed, and I knew that Woody was just going to give me so much pushback on this. And
that's why you kept it secret.
And just try to just talk us out of it and say, it's not real, it's just a mass hallucination nonsense.
No, I don't believe the mass hallucination stuff.
Although,
and I will say, you sold me a lot better than I thought you would be able to.
There's just so many.
For some of the years. Yeah, I know.
Side note, Woody and I actually did get into a conversation the other day, which I think warrants a full episode on this. But the idea, if you've never thought of this, that, you know, all those critics and all those naysayers say, oh, well, these 22 kids in Australia in the 80s, they didn't all see a UFO. It was just a mass hallucination. So that's nuts, first of all. Secondly, okay, let's take that as whole cloth. Say that there is a thing as mass hallucination. Then if there's mass hallucination, then are we truly living in a simulation theory? Because, I mean, it kind of plays into the other, you know?
Well, and I think that's the perfect way to end this episode on a little bit of a cliffhanger on whether or not we're going to get into, are we living in a simulation next time?
Nice.
You know what I mean? Well, like we say
absolutely.
every single week, thank you guys for listening. I mean, this was a mega episode, a lot of stuff covered. Essentially, you heard Tyler present a case on air that he's been trying to convince me of for years and years. And you see how he had to do it. He had to sneakily tell me he had a mystery topic. And even though I figured it out after the first question, I got to say, I mean, I have come away like a little bit more intrigued. Not a little bit more, a lot more intrigued than I have been over the years. So well done. But yes, thank you to all of our listeners around the world, man. I looked the other day, and it looks like we have listeners in, I can't even count them right now, but I will. Tons and tons of different countries all over the globe. And so if you're listening to us from Australia to Japan, China, Russia, I mean, Ireland, UK, I mean, you just name it. We just wanted to say hello and thank you so much for listening. Hopefully one day, you know, when this podcast is big enough, we can fly out there and do a live show in your amazing country. So thank you. You got anything else you need to say, Tyler?
Well, one that you kind of didn't get was the Instapot, which is very well known from everybody. And this is really... This is a recent one.
Yeah.
It's never been Instapot. It's Instant Pot now. Yeah. So, but anyway, we appreciate you. Thank you guys for coming back week after week after week to the That Would Be Radical podcast. So, with that being said, we appreciate you. We love you. And as always,
be rad.
That's the way it goes. Clouds in a time where I just needed some sunshine. You were already dead before you became a ghost. You always said our future would be a parade of flowers, but now all that's left is a single rose. That's the way it goes. Go.
was really
awesome
good,
episode, dude.
Yeah.